And we are back for the holiday weather, the holiday astro weather, which is winding down, as we noted yesterday. A little bit of the Sonoran Desert in the background today. Just kind of, keeping it real, right? We just want to represent all the different topography of this great realm of ours. So, how is everybody? We got about a half an hour, and then at the top of the hour at noon, Mario from Symbolic Studies will be right back here, and we'll be talking about Capricorn, the goat, Saturnalia, Saturn imagery. Mario's doing a bunch of stuff on Libra, which is the midpoint between Cancer and Capricorn. So we always talk about the tropics of Cancer and Capricorn, but that midpoint is Libra, right? The balance. And so we get into a lot of that today. Mario's a great guy. He has superior design skills. That's what he's trained as. And the world of symbolism and esoterica, and what some people might even term the occult, is a byproduct and an outgrowth of that word. Anyway, I hope everybody's doing great today. We've got a nice little group here assembling. Do a quick shout out. There's my man DJ MC. What's going on, Michael? Bo is here. Hello, Bo. Let's see, Integrity and Karma. Tomas Jordan, good to see you, Tom. Seeking Health. I move everywhere. I'm ubiquitous. I'm like Walt Whitman. I'm like Walt Whitman in Leaves of Grass. Songs of Myself. Katie, what's going on, Katie? How are you? There he is, JRV, Jeff Rosen Videos. What's going on, Brother Jeff? The Muse Memorandum, also known as JJ Rain LeBlanc, is with us today. What's going on, JJ? Kelly and Kids. Wouldn't be a show without Kelly and Kids. Hi, Kelly. Renee is here. CC Jones, the fantastic one. Michael H. Charlie. Nora Rashid. I sure missed you. Well, Nora Rashid, glad I could be back. Let's see, Marty R. It's been a while. Marty R., we're glad you're here. Julie A. Payne, morning from New Zealand. Oh, we got a morning greet from New Zealand. What's going on, Julie? And good morning to you. Seeking Health. Should we leave Texas? I don't know. It's a very personal choice. It's a very personal choice. I can't leave right now. But, the question is, where would you go, right? Right, Jasper? Where would you go? Jasper's not leaving Texas. Here he is, the Astro Cat. Doesn't miss a beat. Doesn't matter whether he's in the Central Hill Country or the Southern Hill Country. Great weather in Boca. Senator Jack Shaw's here. What's going on, SJS? Miko with the pink hand wave, PB, and Jill Wong. Got a Jill Wong sighting. Go to Mexico. That's right. Jill does live in Mexico. Very interesting person, Jill Wong. I like Mexico a lot. Harry Bowie. I miss Harriet. Michael H. Found you through Danny. Well, we love Danny. She's one of my favorite people, favorite guests. Sunrise is nearly here, but my car is still asleep. Okay. Wake your car gently. And Joe W. is also here. Don't forget to hit the like button. And if you like the video, don't forget to hit the share button as well. And if you are subscribed, you may as well go back and see if you have been unceremoniously unsubscribed, because we want to get you. Let me better here. Here's a better mic. We want to get you back in the mix, right? And we want to make sure that you get the notifications. That means hit the bell. Hit the bell. That's what you want to do. Oh, your cat is still asleep. My cats are never asleep when it matters. Never asleep. Okay, why don't we get in some weather? We got a bit of a limited window here because I do want to prep a little bit for our guest today, Mario, at the top of the hour. So let's get into the weather. Always welcome in Greece. Oh man, I would love to go to Greece. My Pluto and Uranus in the ninth house have not gotten to work out for quite a while. I'm telling you, man, I miss traveling. I've got Jupiter and Sag in the first house. I dearly miss traveling. Okay, what do we want to do here? Let's bring this up to the top. I'd have to say Greece would be pretty damn cool. All right. Let's bring in the weather. Something about the weather. Okay, here we go. All right. That's us. That's where we're at. Sun, still in first decan Capricorn. It is thick as a cup of black, dark coffee that's been on the burner for a couple of hours. That's how I see Capricorn sometimes. I see it as kind of like dark and slightly, and I use the word slightly, viscous. In my younger days, when I had very little common sense and even less adult supervision, I had too much time on my hands. And one of the things that eventually crossed my path was a substance from the Middle East / North Africa called hashish. And it was very dark and thick and sticky. I had no idea what I was getting into. You know, that's one of the great follies of youth and a Neptune transit over your ascendant when you're in that adolescent period. And as I look back on that that incredibly dense and tarry substance, it reminds me of Capricorn. It reminds me of a substance that comes from a culture that's much older than the one that we're currently experiencing now, right? Put together by these old men, and you know, their craggy beards and sifting through the cannabis and doing the whole thing, and then when it's all said and done, they have this thick brick of this dark, waxy substance. It just reminds me of Capricorn in a lot of ways. Not that I do anything like that. It's like I got all that out of the way when I was around 15, 16 years old. But that's what it evokes. Capricorn evokes that in my memory, right? And there's also kind of the rigorous steps that you have to go through to get to that point, to get that substance. Not that I'm advocating it, but here we are, first decan. We've got essentially 2 more days before we move into second decan Capricorn, which puts it into Taurus, and that means money is going to be on your mind. So starting on Monday, New Year's, yeah, I think, you know, if you haven't already, if you haven't thrown in the towel, and I don't advise you to throw in the towel, then it's a good time to really start to think about your finances, your sustainables. When I say sustainables, I'm not talking about stupid World Economic Forum bullshit. I'm talking about the things that are going to get you through longer periods of time, duration. Capricorn is all about endurance and duration, right? When you look at the goat and you think of what the goat can eat, a goat can eat just about anything, right? You look at images of goats in Italy scaling these cliffs with nary a outcropping for their hooves to gain any traction on. But that's what I think of when I think of Capricorn. The ability to endure harsh and troubling conditions, right? To be kind of flinty and resilient and sturdy. And it's a cardinal sign. So you have to initiate something during a cardinal period. This is essential, right? This is an essential element of astrology. So by the time we get into Monday, and we have that sun moving into that second decan in Taurus, holidays are over, right? It's time to get serious. What are you doing with your money? What are you doing with your material possessions? I'm going through it right now, and I'm it's really weird. I've got two vehicles that are in the shop. Of course, Mercury retrograde. One of them I have to get fixed before I can sell it, but that's where we are, right? Like I've got to get rid of this vehicle. I have to downsize. I've got too many cars. I've got 5 cars. Actually, I have 4. Well, I actually have 2 trucks and 2 cars, and one of the cars is not running. It's a project. You know what I'm saying, right? So we got a Mercury retrograde, Sagittarius. Sagittarius tends to be ideological, and it's like, okay, well, what do I need? What do I need to stay free? Right? Sagittarius is all about freedom. And this has been a huge lesson in my life with having too much stuff. I'm a rat. Not that I'm a hoarder by any stretch, but over the course of my life, as I've moved many times, many things have stayed with me. Right. So we have Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius, and you're looking at, well, what can I get rid of in order to free things up in my life, free up mental space, free up the hard drive of your mind. Mars at 25 Sag, and just 1 degree off of the galactic center. 1 degree off the galactic center, squaring Neptune. Somebody is going to get some weird idea that they got a message from God and that they have something that they've got to do, that they have to accomplish for good or ill. I'm picking up. We're going to see it over the next 72 hours. Somebody's going to say, I had to do this. I was moved to do this. Well, who told you to do this? Well, God told me to do this. Or it may come out in slightly different language. But that's what you get when Mars moves right into that conjunction with the galactic center, that the energy, this is a really interesting Mars cycle. I mean, we won't see Mars here again for another 2 years. I mean, that's how the Mars cycles roll, right? So we're not going to see Mars conjuncting the galactic center until 2025, late 2025. And it's kind of a weird shame that it's squaring Neptune, because to me, Mars and Sagittarius really epitomizes the archer and the archer's bow, right? Even that arrow coming right out of the scrotum of Mars there, and aligning, towards the bullseye, of the zodiac, really, which is the bullseye is what is it? That's not Pleiades, Sirius. Like it's like right across, right? Like the bullseye it's Antares, right across from Mars, right? Actually, that's not true, because Antares would be over here. It's Sirius. It's the bullseye. Anyway, that is, it's an important Mars transit. And if you get too distracted, you're going to miss your mark, right? You're going to miss your mark. Okay, if I said to you today, if you could have one thing that you could accomplish in the next 365-day cycle, or the next 730-day cycle, which would be the return of Mars to the galactic center, what would you want to accomplish? Without distraction, without the notion of defeat. Defeat is not possible, right? Defeat is just not possible. You can't let Neptune settle in and shake your confidence, or you can't let Neptune settle in and cause you to waver on your path. What would that thing do? What would that thing be? There it is. This is what we're talking about here. Right. That's what we're talking about. And as far as other action, Mars has a trine. It's a weird trine with Jupiter because it's out of element, right? But by the numbers, we're in trine territory. It's a wide trine, but it's a trine. Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius, so that's interesting. And it's retrograde. I would say that dust off some skills, dust off some things that you haven't finished. right? There's the archer's pull. That's all. And the things that you have, maybe it's a piece of furniture, maybe it's an unwritten work, maybe it's art, maybe it's a piece of land that you bought and you have been doing anything with it, right? This is where Mars comes into play. Take aim, fire. And there is an interesting potential for abundance coming out of this Mars Jupiter Trump. Remember, with the retrograde, it's something that you already have, right? Possibly it could be something that you could acquire, but it won't show up perfectly, right? You know what you're getting involved with. You know that it's going to take some effort to rehabilitate the thing that you're purchasing or acquiring. Sometimes you have to purchase, I mean, you trade things. So I do like the Mars Jupiter trine. And remember, Sagittarius needs a vision, and Jupiter could supply that vision. And you could say, well, the world is going to hell in the handbasket. Do you know how long I've been saying that? I've been saying that for 20 years. And while it's true that the conditions have degraded immensely, I look at my own life and see that a lot of that self-talk has been deleterious to me, because it was just another 6 months or another year, that the next shoe would drop. And sometimes a couple of shoelaces would drop, or sometimes something significant would happen, but it wasn't the thing that sent us over the edge. So don't waste any more time. Don't waste any more time. We all know that things basically suck, okay? And they are doing everything in their power to make them basically suck more. And we all want to know what's going on in the world. We all want to stay apprised. We all want to be able to not all of us, but a lot of us do, to take things apart so we know that we're not getting fucked with. Now, the danger of that is that you keep taking things apart and you keep seeing that the world is falling apart. And in a lot of ways it is, and in a lot of ways it should, because the conditions of the world they're not great. And they've been synthetically driven to create as much chaos and consternation as possible. That said, try to limit the self-talk. Do not waste any more time. Put whatever dreams, whatever goals, whatever you have, put it into action as if it was 1990. Okay? Because that's where Mercury is also coming in here, right? It's coming in with a wide trine again to Jupiter. So Jupiter is your goal. Jupiter is your target. We've got Jupiter first decan Taurus, right? And it's not always about acquiring more things, although Jupiter and Taurus can certainly bring that. With Mercury retrograde and Mars kind of leading the pack here, I would say it's about resurrecting your goals, resurrecting your dreams, resurrecting things that you have left in disrepair, and it's time to repair them. And it's time. It may not be time to move forward yet. We got Mercury retrograde and then going direct, but when it goes direct, this is a good time to look around and say, okay, what do I need to do? What can I let go of? What do I need to repair? What do I need to rehabilitate? Again, with this first decan of Capricorn, knowing that you're going to need to survive, right? Because that's just you think the goat wakes up in the morning and says, how the fuck am I going to survive today? The goat looks around and says, what the fuck can I eat today? That's what the goat does, right? The goat's natural instinct is towards survival, right? And they're probably having a pretty good fucking time when they're doing it. Seems to me like they are. I don't run across any moody, malcontent goats. I see them here in the hill country. I see the little ones jumping around. They're having a good time, right? But that's what goats do. They are in the act of survival, right? And by going about it by their own means. We've got this
square with Chiron going on with the sun. And to me, it's like, don't waver. The Chiron Sun square, and we're going to see more of that here over the next week. It's like a gut check. It's like a gut check, and don't waver. We're in a period now of gathering force with Mercury retrograde, and we're clearly. I can't stress how important this Mars transit is. You're not going to see it again for 2 years. It is literally 1 degree off that galactic center. And if there is anything that you theoretically should be able to count on, is the certitude of any major planet in conjunction with the galactic center. Again, I will say that you'll find some zealotry. You'll find some people that are off the mark. They may be well-meaning, but they'll be off the mark with that Mars-Neptune square. But figure it out, right? And I think the goal here is, where do you want to be 2 years from now? And some people say, well, I'll just live day by day. I'll just be like the goat. And that's fine too. Right? But the other thing with Capricorn is that Capricorn has sight, right? Capricorn looks into the future. Saturn is the planet that is the bridge between all the personal planets and the transpersonal planets. So Saturn can look back and Saturn can look forward. So Saturn plays a role here. It's like, okay, yeah, here and now, got to get things done. Got to get things done. 2 years from now, where do I want to be? It's an important question. And I would say, well, who knows, 2 years from now? Well, anything, we can go through this or that. Define the world on your own terms. Define the world on your own terms. Yes, we will break things down. Yes, we will deconstruct them. Yes, we will see what's happening. But really, in order for that formula to be complete, we have to move past that. And we have to embrace our dreams. We have to embrace our visions. You know why? Because even if you don't get there, hell, there's honor. There's honor in dying when you are doing it. There's honor there. Now, some people will say, well, I'm just going to be and yes, there is a time and a place for being. Ultimately, when the shit hits the fan, and the shit will hit the fan, and again, I'm not trying to sound contradictory, right? Whoever you are, whatever the nature of your character is, you'll be where you need to be. Whatever past experiences have led you to the place that you're in at that point in time will be the place you need to be in. It's just plain and simple. And then based on all of that, you will respond to what's happening in your environment. And that's the best we can hope for with the future. Truly. And you can hedge it a little bit. You can have some preps. You can work with people to fortify your position. And that's fine too. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. But let's not have this discussion 2 years from now where it's like, hey, how'd your dream go? Did you live it? Did you put any elbow grease into it? Because even if the whole shit house goes up in flames, it'll go up in flames with you at least living your dream or attempting to. Am I right? And there's nothing more noble than that. Now, we do have to kind of work these parallel processes. Live for today, live your dream, right? Get through, survive, and then have a longer term vision. We have to work. This is what Jesus talks about, to be in the world but not of it, right? This is where we are. These parallel processes. Saturn certainly supplements it. We have that Saturn sextile to the sun, which is a nice sextile. Again, if you're working towards something, Saturn's a nice helper. And especially Pisces. When I see Saturn in Pisces, the phrase, God helps those who help themselves, comes to mind, right? Because Pisces is the Godhead and Saturn is the effort that puts forth. I said, oh, look at them. Look what they're doing. That's really good. Do it a little while longer. Yeah, keep doing it for a while. Okay, now I'll help you. So it's not a bad thing, right? And the sun is beginning to separate a little bit from Saturn, but eventually Mars is going to kick in. And when Mars kicks into Capricorn, look out. Mars in Capricorn is a hardworking motherfucker. Okay. And early on, it's going to sextile that Saturn. So if you want to roll up to your some elbow grease and get some work done, that is the time. I think there'll be some larger political machinations during that period, but I'll save that for another conversation. Moon and Leo alert. We like that. It's going to be interesting because I think on New Year's Eve, we got the moon going into Virgo, which is a weird place for a New Year's Eve celebration, right? It's kind of like, oh, yeah, let's have Martinelli's sparkling cider tonight. And then there's the dance with the opposition with Saturn. And I think it's going to bring up some very, there's a word that I've been playing with. I've been wanting to use it, and I have to make sure I'm using it in the right context. Hold on. There's this word that's been in my brain. Yes. Thank you. Okay. The feelings around this New Year's Eve could be very lachrymose. That phrase has been in my head for like the last 72 hours. And it's about being brought to tears. 2023 has been a hard fucking year. Every year since 2020 has been a hard fucking year. And we're still here. We're like the goats. That's what we are. We're the goats. Have fun over the weekend. Tonight, Friday night, tomorrow night, Saturday. That's where the fun is to be had. Friday and Saturday, Sunday. The moon begins its movement into Virgo, and we have a very sober farewell to the Gregorian year of 2023. It's a good, if you're into the whole New Year's, proclamation, if you want to lose weight, if you want to commit to your body, you want to commit to your health, the moon in Virgo, New Year's Day, it's a good one. It's a good one. It's like, yeah. The only thing that's the downside is it can be a little fascistic when it comes to those things. We're at the 29th degree of Venus in Scorpio. Not quite a grand trine, but sort of, I guess. If the moon was back in the latter degrees of Cancer, which it was, we would have had the grand trine, which we did. But the anaretic degree, and for some people, depending on where you are in your relationship, this is a critical degree. It's not that it's make or break, but it's you definitely want to make sure that you're getting what you want or need out of your relationships. It would not be out of sync for relationships to end with Venus at 29 Scorpio. Because when it moves into Sagittarius, there's freedom, right? So if you're a person and somehow, some way, the relationship you're in winds up being disconnected or ended, whether by you or another person, don't sweat. Don't sweat it. Venus and Sagittarius will provide the appropriate amount of energy and the wind beneath your wings. Sometimes things are meant to die. And at that 29th degree, man, oh man, we're looking around and asking ourselves, what does that mean? What are we deriving out of this? Is this relationship alive or is it on a ventilator? Right. And the square with Saturn is making you think about, is it worth working through? And sometimes it can be with the Venus Saturn square. The two don't have to be mutually exclusive. You can go through the depth of a relationship and perhaps come to a more egalitarian model of how to relate with one another. That would be Venus and Sagittarius, by the way. Okay, why don't we get on with our star of the day? Because I got another show to do really quickly here. Lacrimose, bringing one to a state of tears. Today's star of the day is none other than one of the greatest traders in the history of the United States of America, Woodrow Wilson. A complicated man in some regards, and also yet a very simple and naive one in others. For those of you who are not aware of the fact, Woodrow Wilson was instrumental in getting the Federal Reserve Act of 1913 passed. So he is the gatekeeper for central banking in the United States. Not only that, but he also got the federal income tax passed. And not only that, but he got us into World War I. 3 strikes, you're out, Woodrow. And he's up there with FDR, LBJ, Jimmy Carter, Clinton, and Obama. And I'll even, and I know this is going to be a sacrilege, I wouldn't put Reagan in the same territory, but Reagan really, really helped his globalist buddies, right? A lot of people think of America. There was more talk in the Reagan administration than there was. Anyway, I don't want to get too far ahead of that. And so Wilson, why? So who was he? He was a college professor. You know, I talk about Saturn in the 9th house as being professorial, right? That's what Saturn in the 9th house. It's the teacher, and it's usually about accreditation. And that's what he was. He was a professor at a university in New Jersey, right? And he got snatched up by Colonel Mandel House. And Mandel House got him into office, and then they blackmailed him. They blackmailed. You know, you could also see here the beginnings of this bizarre Mars-Venus conjunction in Aquarius, right? And the blackmailing, I think, has to do with the square going on with Pluto in his chart. Pluto and even Uranus. So you got all these squares going on. So this is all hidden and behind the scenes. And so that's what happened with Wilson. He had an affair, and they used it against him. And I think Wilson probably liked the notoriety. You know, he liked the theoretical respect of being president with Saturn in near his midheaven. He's got the sun in the 3rd house, and there's nothing really. He's got that Sun Jupiter square. That's his ambition. You know, Jupiter and Aries. I'll do whatever it takes, right? Do whatever it takes. Yeah. So later on in his deathbed, he confessed that he had a great deal of remorse for his actions. But what's interesting is Uranus, right? And he's got Uranus at 21 Taurus in the 8th house, which is other people's money. And where's Uranus now? It's in Taurus. And next year, it'll be the Uranus return of Wilson in Wilson's chart, right? The guy who would usher in the Federal Reserve had freaking Uranus and Taurus in his 8th house. It makes complete sense. At least to me, it does. He's got that moon in Aquarius. So Wilson is cold. He's a cold individual. I don't think he is gifted with a lot of empathy. the water he does have is hard water. It's Saturn and Cancer. It's frozen water, right? The pipes are blocked. He's got Neptune and Pisces, which I guess is nice. And it's trining Saturn. Maybe perhaps Wilson thought that, he was being somewhat benevolent. Maybe he convinced himself that, that this would lead to a greater social system that other people could take advantage of, people that were far less fortunate than the other people that were twisting his arm and stoking his ego while extorting him so his affair wouldn't have been released to the public, right? And he's got all these planets. He's working on like really personal stuff, his home life and which is weird, right? This is, you got all this Aquarius down here. Mercury, I guess that would be like the intellectual influence of the father in the chart. Maybe he got his dream of being a teacher. Maybe his father was a teacher. I don't know much about his father, but that's where the influences would have come from. But what's interesting is I don't think it's a very presidential chart, even with Saturn at the height of the chart and all the kind of ambitious conflicts with Saturn, the square with Jupiter, the opposition with the sun. But to me, what really sets this thing off is this weird Venus-Mars conjunction. And I would say that beyond the fact that he had a mistress, there's probably a really good chance that Woodrow Wilson was bisexual. And maybe that's what was really the point of extortion and blackmail. Anyway, not one of my favorite characters. The takeaway here is this Uranus, the whole Federal Reserve thing and other people's money and lending, and a radical departure from how banking was facilitated in the United States before and after his time in office. There's your True Hemp Science star of the day, Woodrow Wilson. And if you go to True Hemp Science and you spend $100 or more and you type in 15MINS, what will you get? You will get free goodies with your order of some of the best CBD products on the internet. That's truehempscience.com. Type in 15MINS when you check out, spend $100 or more, and you'll get some of the good stuff. Along with the good stuff you're ordering. $150 or more get you free shipping, and there's always a 30-day money-back guarantee. All right, so that'll do it for the Astro Weather. I will be back in about 20 minutes with Mario from Symbolic Studies. I'm really looking forward to that. And if you haven't discovered his work, you'll get a good dose of it here today. All right, thanks everyone. I'll see you in about 20 minutes, and let's play another one of these before we can.